When it comes to the Eeveeloutions in Generation 1, I don't think anybody thinks highly of Flareon. A lot of people say it's a really bad Pokemon, and when you look at the limited fire types in Kanto, someone could just start with Charizard if they want a really good fire type. And while Charizard does reign supreme in terms of solo running Pokemon, for fire types at least, I don't think Flareon is going to be awful, and today we're going to find out. Let's see how quickly I can beat Pokemon Blue using only a Flareon. Rules are on screen but also in the description. As I mentioned previously in my Jolteon video, the Eeveeloutions in Generation 1 have one stat that's at 130, they all share a special stat of 110, and the rest of their stats are at 60 or 65. For Flareon, the stat that's at 130 is its attack, and 130 attack with 110 base special, you might think to yourself, that's pretty good, until you see Flareon's TMs and learn set. The first thing you'll notice here is that there's not a lot of type variety. All of the attacking moves are either normal or fire type moves, and we're not really going to get a good physical option until we get to the SSN and can learn Body Slam. Double Edge isn't a bad option if you wanted to go that route, and Hyper Beam just costs way too many coins and takes up too much time to get at the game corner. And unlike the other two Eeveeloutions, Flareon doesn't have a badge boosting move. The closest it gets is Rage. Needless to say, we're going to have our work cut out for us in this run. The one saving grace for this early game is starting with Ember, because at least Brock won't be a slog. So let's jump ahead to Viridian Forest. This will come at no surprise, but Ember makes defeating the bug catchers a quick and easy job. I'm going to be battling all three of them to level up Flareon. Jolteon needed level 13 in order to defeat Brock, but Flareon is going to be able to save some time in that department. Defeating the three bug catchers gets it to level 8. Now, could I try Brock at level 8? I could. Does it go well? Not at all. At least it didn't for me. I kept losing to Onix, but I'm sure if you got lucky with burns, it's doable. But getting to level 10 with this thing isn't a chore. There's going to be no blackout grinding for Flareon today. Defeating the junior trainer's Pokemon gets it to level 10, and now we can face the rock type specialist. Geodude is first, and at level 10 above the damage rounding threshold, Ember 5 hits it. I do get some good luck with it going for a few defense curls, so I have plenty of HP for Onix. Now against this thing, Flareon unfortunately doesn't outspeed, and attacking into a bite a bit early brings me down to 6 HP, but thanks to all the sand attacks I hit Onix with early on, it helps me out as it misses tackle over and over, which would have finished me, and after it goes for a late bide, I can Ember it down to earn the first badge. Mount Moon overall is pretty uneventful. I'm going to pick up two optional battles. The first is against this bug catcher, followed by grabbing the rare candy, and then against this last with a Bellsprout and Oddish. Both trainers are easy one-shots and don't waste too much time, and by the time I knock out the Super Nerd's Coughing, I'm level 17. I grab the Dome Fossil, and once I arrive in Cerulean, I'm going to immediately face the rival because it makes zero sense to face Misty now. I'm actually speed tied with Pidgeotto, who does get me down to nearly half HP, but at least I don't see Sand Attack from it. By the time I make it to his Ace Squirtle though, I will be under half HP thanks to a critical hit from Rattata, but at least I hit level 18 to go above a damage rounding threshold before then. I go for 2 early Sand Attacks so that I don't get hit with any of its 2 water moves to this point, but of course, Bubble hits through the sand and lowers my speed, but that doesn't matter because I have Quick Attack, which is also my move of choice, and after 3 of them, Flareon wins this one just barely. Nugget Bridge doesn't provide any problems for Flareon. I do have some PP problems towards the end, so I do battle the Elixir Hiker. I'm only level 21 by the time I get to Bill's house, and I reach level 22 after defeating the Dig Rocket Grunt, which I just want to say, it would be nice if the Eeveeloutions, and even if Eevee itself, could learn Dig in Generation 1 like they can in Generation 2 and onwards. We're going to need a bit of a boost to our moves before we face Misty, so we're going to jump to the SSN, and we can get an immediate upgrade to our moveset in TM08 Body Slam. I'm also going to grab the TM for Rest for later on, along with the Gentleman Candy. Body Slam just makes the rival battle a breeze. It's nice to have a good move for this point in the game to take advantage of our 130 base attack stat. By the time I knock out the rival's final Pokemon, Flareon reaches level 25. I can enter the chairman's house and quickly dig back to Cerulean. Now it's time to face Misty. Staryu is first, Body Slam one-shots. Starmie is next. Misty uses an X-Defend turn 1 which will make Body Slam a 3-shot now. But I do inflict Paralysis which lets me outspeed. My next Body Slam leaves it on low red health, as Starmie fires off a Bubble Beam which does about a third. I finish it off and earn the Cascade badge. I quickly head back to Vermilion to face Surge, not even healing after Misty. My waypoint is still set to the Cerulean Pokemon Center, and now that I have the bike, which I did grab the bike voucher when I went down to Vermilion the first time, it's only around 24 seconds from when Misty's battle ends to initiate the battle against Surge. And as far as the battle against Surge, as you can see, just leave your cursor on Body Slam. But you know who does provide a bit more of a challenge than Surge? The self-destructing hiker. I took a different approach than I did with Jolteon, going for Ember which will 2-shot his 2 Geodudes. But unfortunately, both just blow up immediately, and by the time I get to Graveler, I have 15 HP remaining. I switch to Sand Attack and cross my fingers that this thing blows up quickly, which it does after 2 turns, and self-destruct misses. Still a resetless run. Once I arrive in Celadon, after buying repels, like I did with Jolteon, I pick up 3 Reflect TMs. But unlike with Jolteon, I do end up making use of this move later. I purchase a Pokédoll for Mimic, and after selling off TMs I don't need, I purchase 2 proteins because that's all I can afford at the moment. Looking back, perhaps I should have gone through the Rocket Hideout first just to have some extra money from the items I could pick up there. There's also the TM for Double Edge here, which is Flareon's strongest physical attacking move, but I end up skipping it. Normally the battle against Giovanni is a joke, but I actually have to talk about this one because he defeats me in this first attempt. I end up taking a lot of damage from the Onix and the Rhyhorn, and Rhyhorn with its 5% chance to crit or whatever it is actually crits me. And while I do get a nice crit on Kangaskhan that leaves it on low yellow health, it then crits me with a bite to finish me for our first reset. In the next battle, I have a lot more HP by the time I get to it. I have to 3-shot it with Body Slam, and it's able to get me pretty low, but Flareon pulls through. Celadon gym time. I end up taking on every trainer except 2 in Erica's gym. The battles don't take long for Flareon, and I'm getting in the training now because I'm thinking about the Gyarados down the line that I'll have to face during the league. Had I battled the trainer to the right side of the gym, I think I would have gotten enough experience to get to level 35 over a damage rounding threshold, but I don't think 34 is going to hold Flareon back against the grass type specialist. Victory Bell is first. Body Slam does around 3/4 and inflicts paralysis, as it just goes for Poison Powder. Her dangerous lead is defeated. I nearly one-shot Tangela with Ember, and I get a nice burn on it, as it goes for Bind and misses. I finish it and move on to her Ace Vileplume. Body Slam gets a critical hit to one-shot it, an easy gym battle. Because I outlevel the rival's Pokemon in Pokemon Tower by over 10 levels, his team is an easy one-shot sweep. Unfortunately, despite being 10 or more levels higher than the Ghastlies on the Chandler's teams, Ember cannot one-shot them. They could strike back with Lick and paralyze me, or confuse me with Confuse Ray, but thankfully Flareon doesn't have terrible confusion luck when they do confuse me, and most of them just go for Nightshade. After Pokemon Tower, I need to make a decision to go to Silphco or Cycling Road next, and I'm sure you guys know where I'm leaning. I choose Cycling Road. I'm going to do a bit more optional training while here and grab a few items. I battle this guy, grab the rare candy, battle this guy, grab the hidden PP up for later, this guy, and this guy, before quickly heading through the Safari Zone and taking on Koga. I have a few thoughts looking back at this battle. Number 1, I wish Flareon got Flamethrower sooner than level 54. Number 2, this would have been a great place to pop at least 3 candies, because not only would I have been above a damage rounding threshold, but I'd have Fire Spin. Sure, the 15 base power per hit and 70% accuracy sucks, but a trapping move to chip his Pokemon down so they can't hit me with things like Smoke Screen, Poison Gas, or set up Minimize would have been nice. And as you can can see in this battle, I have to 2 or 3 shot his Pokemon. I get smokescreened and poisoned early, and by the time I make it to Weezing, I cross my fingers and pray that Sand Attack will make self-destruct miss. It doesn't, and Weezing crits just to rub it in my face. I managed to make it back to Weezing in the next battle, but once again, I'm poisoned, and in every battle against Koga, I would get poisoned by their first use of Sludge. It was very annoying, and even though it didn't need to, Weezing blows up again to give me another reset. After 2 more losses where I kept making it to Weezing, only for it to blow up, I decided to teach Reflect to lessen the damage from his physical attacks. Since Sand Attack isn't helping me out, I delete it for the screen move, and I lost 4 more battles to Koga. 2 I'm not going to bother showing because I was resetting immediately if I saw Smokescreen. Those were the only 2 battles I was unable to make it to Weezing. But in this battle, I have plenty of HP. I go for Reflect, and Weezing blows up immediately, which only does half to Flareon. Finally, the soul badge is mine. We're going to head to Cinnabar Island next and face Blaine. His badge will give me a boost to my special, which is going to help from here on out. I can also grab 2 candies along with some vitamins when I go through the mansion. When I arrive to Blaine's gym, I'm going to face 2 trainers to get Flareon to level 43 above a damage rounding threshold. I'm not worried about Blaine, but I am thinking about what's down the line after him. Growlithe is first. I'm going to set up Reflect to lessen the damage from his Pokemon's physical attacks. And the puppy goes for Takedown after setting up Agility, which does pathetic damage. I have no problem taking care of it and Ponyta, but now I've got to talk about Rapidash. It's faster and goes for Growl, lowering my attack. While Body Slam does paralyze it, I have to 3-shot it, and it gets off another Growl. This is going to make the battle against Arcanine very slow. I do manage to paralyze it early on, and Blaine keeps going for Roar, which is hilarious. I do run out of Body Slam PP and have to switch to Quick Attack, and for the gym leader that likes to use super potions at the absolute worst time, I'm glad he didn't use any against Arcanine. Other than this battle being pretty slow, it's not hard. I hit level 44 at the end of the battle and have the chance to learn Fire Spin, which I teach in the place of Ember. Now it's time for Silphco. The first thing I'm going to do, of course, is head to the 10th floor and battle the one Rocket Grunt who guards the Carbos and Rare Candy. And as I go through Silphco, I'm going to battle a few trainers to get Flareon to level 45 above the next damage rounding threshold before the rival battle. And as all that plays in the background, I want to talk about something real quick. And it's the TM for Fire Blast that we just got from Blaine. If I was playing a Pokemon like Ponyta, Rapidash, or even Moltres, where the best fire move they get is Fire Spin, it makes sense to teach Fire Blast right away and dump any PP ups you may have picked up along the way into it. But for Pokemon like Flareon, Charizard, and Magmar that learn Flamethrower, granted they learn it at a late level, it makes sense to hang on to this TM until the League, in case you need to delete Flamethrower for one of your matchups and you want to teach a fire move later on. Or maybe you're someone who just thinks Flamethrower is trash and you want something with more power. I think that's enough rambling from me for now. Let's face the rival. His lead is Pidgeot, and thankfully I don't see Sand Attack as I can 2-shot it with Quick Attack and Body Slam. I do need to be mindful of my PP because I didn't use an elixir prior to the battle, but I can pop one afterwards. Against Growlithe, I'm going to set up Reflect to help mitigate damage from its physical moves, and I have to use Quick Attack to knock it out. I can easily take out Execute with Fire Spin, and Body Slam one-shots Alakazam before I move on to Blastoise. I've saved my remaining 2 PP of Body Slam for this thing, expecting it to be a 2 or 3 shot, but my first Body Slam gets a critical hit. It doesn't have any good water moves to this point, and I finish it off the next turn. No losses to Giovanni this time, even though he does get me down to half HP. With Team Rocket gone, I grab the TM for Mimic and take on this guy in Sabrina's gym to get Flareon to level 48 above a damage rounding threshold. As for Sabrina herself, she's simple. Body Slam is a one-shot sweep on the frail psychic types. Giovanni for the final time does make this one a little bit close, and I think you can easily point the blame on Fire Spin's 70% accuracy. It's the best I have against his Rhyhorn and Rhydon, and thanks to missing over and over, his lead Rhyhorn is able to get me down to a third of my health before I move on to Dugtrio. Flareon thankfully outspeeds the mole Pokemon, so I don't need to worry about getting hit with Dig. Nidoqueen and Nidoking are able to chip me down to low red health. but Rhydon is just going to spam Fissure because it sees it as a super effective option. I run out of Fire Spin PP against it, so the battle is slow, but in the end, I earn the final gym badge. Before taking on the rival, I did one final vitamin buy, 4 calciums, 1 protein, and 2 carbos, to bring my attack, speed, and special to the vitamin thresholds. But I would say that luck had a lot more to do with this battle than the vitamins I purchased. I have to 2-shot his lead with Body Slam before moving on to Rhyhorn. Because it only has physical moves, I set up Reflect and then slowly chip it down with Fire Spin. And looking back at this battle, this would have been a good place to use candies to level up to 55 above 2 damage rounding thresholds, and so I could learn Flamethrower at level 54. Once Rhyhorn falls though, I can go for Body Slam to 1 or 2-shot his remaining Pokemon up to Blastoise. Alakazam though does outspeed and goes for Psychic, getting a critical hit and bringing me to low yellow health. And Body Slam, to my surprise, doesn't one-shot it, leaving it on a sliver. Thankfully, the rival just uses a retroactive potion, but surely Blastoise is going to finish me. I'm going to chip this thing down with Fire Spin to see if I can get it into a range where Body Slam will finish it off. And in between my 2 misses of Fire Spin, Blastoise just goes for Withdraw, which is classified as a water move, which would be super effective against my fire type if it actually dealt damage. But because of those 2 defense boosts, Blastoise hangs on from a Body Slam, but instead of finishing me off with something like Hydro Pump, it goes for Withdraw again. My next Body Slam can't knock it out, but it does inflict paralysis, and once again, it goes for Withdraw. You couldn't draw this up any better. In Victory Road, I did pick up the extra candy. I could have skipped this looking back, but I was just playing overly cautious with this fire type. I do battle 2 trainers in Victory Road, the Chansey Cool Trainer and the Bellsprout line Cool Trainer. One more battle would have got me to level 53. It was a slight miscalculation on my part, but that's okay. When I arrive at the league, I'm going to pop 2 candies to bring myself to level 54. I'm going to delete Fire Spin for Flamethrower, and I'm also going to teach Mimic in the place of Quick Attack. Now, Flareon is ready for the league. Lorelei is first, and this battle isn't tough. The biggest burden is that I don't one-shot Cloyster with Flamethrower, barely missing the one shot, and it strikes back with Clamp. It's only a 3-turn Clamp, but it does so much damage. The goal of this fight is you just want to make it to Slowbro with a decent amount of health, mimic Amnesia, set up, and just sweep the rest of her team with Flamethrower. In the end, this one's a first try victory. Bruno is next, and just leave your cursor on Flamethrower. You see that I switched to Body Slam against the Hitmonlee and even the Machamp. Don't do this, there was no need for this. Just use Flamethrower and win. Agatha is next, and for my real-time folks at home, this is where things began to go sideways in terms of my real-time finish. The first Gengar puts me to sleep, confuses me, and between confusion damage and Nightshade, Flareon is barely holding on after it gets knocked out. I can't one-shot the following Golbat, and it goes for Haze, removing the boosts I get in battle just from having my badges. Haunter comes out, outspeeds and goes for Nightshade, and I just reset immediately. I had 2 more resets to Agatha where I couldn't knock out a single Pokemon before I decided to pop 4 rare candies to level 60. And the good thing about level 60 is that I outspeed her first Gengar and her Haunter. And while I do have to 2-shot her Ghost along with Golbat, I don't get confused, I don't get put to sleep, and I'm in a great spot HP-wise, making it to Arbok for the first time. Flamethrower, to my surprise, one-shots the pure poison type, and all that's left is her final Gengar. I leave my cursor on Flamethrower to keep my foot on the gas, and we get a turn 1 Dream Eater and a turn 2 Nightshade to finally move on to an even bigger problem in Lance. Lance's lead is Gyarados. Gyarados has Hydro Pump. When this move is used by Gyarados, it's 99% accurate. Hydro Pump is super effective and deals over half my HP without a crit, and thanks to Body Slam just getting terrible rolls against Gyarados, I can't 2-shot his lead, and it easily cleans me up. Prior to the next battle, I'm going to teach Rest because this is the battle I picked up this TM for, and I decide to teach it in the place of Flamethrower. and I had a plan for this battle. You want a 2-shot Gyarados, or you want to see a Hydro Pump miss. I get the 2-shot in this battle, which is great, and against Dragonair, I'm going to go for Reflect and then Rest to gain back lost HP. And this strategy is very time consuming because there are times when you wake up and you might have to use Rest again, but there is a mistake I make in this battle. I'm going to mimic Agility for badge boost so that I can outspeed Aerodactyl. You might hear that and think to yourself, how is that a mistake? What did you mess up on? And I have 2 answers to that. The first answer, I've already said it, which is the number 2. That's how many Hyper Potions Lance has, and he uses his first on Aerodactyl, who I have to 3-shot with Body Slam. And this then brings us to Dragonite, who Lance is going to use his second Hyper Potion on, but it's also going to boost its defense with Barrier. And I end up running out of PP on Body Slam, and when you think about it, I could have mimicked Hyper Beam, or maybe kept Flamethrower to use on Aerodactyl. Maybe if I did one of those things, we'd be looking at a second try victory, but instead, it's another painful reset. And I spent over 5 minutes real time just getting bodied by Lance. I'm not going to show you loss after loss after loss, but I was getting crit by Aerodactyl's Hyper Beam on rest turns, or getting crit by Hydro Pump from Gyarados, or even getting crit by the Dragonairs. I was just having a miserable time, before finally I decided to see if I could candy my way past the problems. I used 3 to bring myself to level 63 above a damage rounding threshold, and while the battle against Lance is slow, having to heal up with rest and be asleep for 2 turns, I am finally able to make my way past the Dragon Master, at long last. Before the champion battle, I'm going to teach Flareon Fire Blast in the place of Reflect, and drop the 3 PP ups I've picked up to this point into it. Now, let's face the champion. Pidgeot is first, and I rip a Fire Blast to one-shot the annoying bird. Alakazam follows, and it's faster than Flareon. It rips a Psychic, but thankfully doesn't crit or drop my special, as Body Slam one-shots. Against Rhydon, I go for Body Slam and then Rest, trying to bait out some Leers and Tail Whips. But in the end, I only get a net gain of 9 HP afterwards. And against Arcanine, I make a mistake. I misclick Fire Blast, which thanks to a crit does great damage, but I'm softened up from those 2 Leers Rhydon used against me, and its takedown hits hard, leaving me at 15 HP. After taking it out, I have a choice to make against Exeggutor. Do I Fire Blast it and pray against Blastoise for some good luck, or do I mimic Hypnosis and hope that it also goes for this move and misses? Or option 3, go for Rest, hope that it wastes its first turn going for Hypnosis since I'll already be asleep, and pray that I don't take too much damage from it while sleeping. I choose option 3, and Exeggutor did go for Hypnosis, funny enough. But as Flareon is snoozing, I get hit with Stomp, followed by a 5-turn Barrage, and when I wake up I decided to go for the Hail Mary and mimic Hypnosis, but Exeggutor goes for Barrage, and I reset immediately just to save some time. In the next battle, I don't make the same mistake against Arcanine. I use Body Slam, which 2-shots the legendary Fire Doggo. And against Exeggutor, I do want to mimic Hypnosis because I'm going to end up needing it for Blastoise. I have taken a Leer and Tail Whip to this point in the battle, so Barrage with its 5-hit combo cuts my remaining HP in half, and after putting Exeggutor to sleep, I take a slight gamble. I'm going to go for Rest, because I want to have as much HP as possible for Blastoise. The good news is that I wake up well before Exeggutor does. The bad, I miss 2 Fire Blasts, but connect on the 3rd after it wakes up to one shot. He sends out his ace last, and after missing a Hypnosis, Hydro Pump hits hard, and I can tank at least 1 more of those as long as it doesn't crit. My next use of Hypnosis hits, and I fire off my final Fire Blast, dealing good damage to the turtle who stays snoozing, and after a Gen 1 miss, Body Slam can get the knockout and Flareon clocks in. In terms of real time, it's a very underwhelming finish, 58 minutes and 30 seconds, and I know I could have got this thing sub 50 had I not gotten bodied by Agatha and Lance or even Koga early on. Flareon finishes the game at level 65 with an in-game time of 3 hours and 11 minutes. 4 minutes slower than Jolteon in terms of game time, and over 10 minutes slower in terms of real time. Before I give my final thoughts on Flareon overall, if you're one of those people who wanted to avoid spoilers in my prior videos, I'm going to be continuing that, so if you click off the video now, hey, thanks for watching. Consider leaving a like, a comment, hyping the video, all that good stuff, so we can help out the channel. For everyone else, you've been warned. Here comes the tier list with my final thoughts. And my final thoughts on Flareon are, I don't think it's a bad Pokemon. Let's be real, fire types in Generation 1 not named Charizard, they kind of struggle. It's the same for electric types not named Zapdos. But both Flareon and Jolteon are not bad Pokemon, and I think it goes without saying that Vaporeon is going to be the best of the three. It's a Gen 1 water type, like come on. But in terms of in-game time, Flareon was just behind Rapidash. And while Pokemon like Ninetales and Arcanine had faster real times, Ninetales' stats overall are pretty underwhelming, and that level 71 finish kind of equates to its 319 in-game time, where Arcanine has great stats, but it's in the slow level up group. There's only one Eeveelution left, along with Eevee itself, to do in Generation 1, and soon we'll see how good or bad Sylveon is in the Kalos region. As always, thank you guys for the continued support on the channel. Special shout out to my channel members, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. Take care, everybody.